Accessing.
When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
Wow. This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex. Presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome on in, everybody. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Alex, Kirry, Jeremiah, Jensen. The Battle of the Floridas down there for the first round here of this NHL.
Big game tonight.
Yeah, the Panthers, man, and the Lightning. I know that Coach Bear was like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of teams that could win it, but man, that Lightning team's really good. And then suddenly they're down 2 games to none.
The Panthers are the defending champs for a reason.
Yeah, it's the playoffs
They're
are so
tough.
good. The playoffs in the NHL are so good, and so that's part of the thing that we're marrying ourselves to here in this market now that we have the hockey club in town is. The playoffs in the NHL are a different level, and it's really fun to watch.
Well, because you've got teams that had 100-plus points in the regular season playing each other in the first round.
That's crazy. It's bonkers. Hey, listen, it's that time of the show for us here to get some serious people on here that are going to class this place up a little bit. Our program is brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar the perfect protein bar. That dude is going to class it up. This segment is of course the coach, Tim LaComb, joining us on the program. That's where we're going to kick things off with the cut, so let's do it.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Trajan Wealth brings you this portion of the show, TRAJANwealth.com, for all your trusted local needs in retirement. He is the coach, Tim LaComb, pre, half, and post for the Utah Jazz on the Jazz Radio Network. And then, of course, all-around good dude and also a friend of the program. And he's also kind of a savant when it comes to making picks because all the things that we've talked about with this NBA and all the things that could happen in the college world, it seems like you get all this stuff right, Coach. I would assume don't try to pull the humility thing. Go full Stevenson Sylvester on us and just say, yeah, I'm that smart, man.
What's that? Dang, I had the perfect line, but I forgot it. The bowler. It said, you know what I am? I can't remember what it was.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, Alex. Alex has probably got her
Who
somewhere.
do you think you are? I am.
It's the guy.
That's it. Who do you think you are? I am.
Yeah.
No,
and
you know what?
That's you.
I'm just trying to be the best me I can be, man. That's all.
When you watch the NFL draft and compare it to what happens with the NBA draft, is there anything comparable that goes on? They're two totally different worlds. But the guesswork that has to happen at both levels is insane. And we see guys drop, but like when you see the Shedeur Sanders thing go on, do you look and then you go, boy, I'm glad that the NBA draft doesn't have 6 and 7 rounds because this would be wild every year.
Oh, for sure. And obviously it's a numbers game and a lot more guys on the football field and a lot more on the roster, and so they deal with that. I actually was not shocked by the Shedeur Sanders thing. I was not a huge proponent. I did feel like, he threw the football around a lot, but, when it comes to some of those things, like just common respect for other people, I can see where he rubs some teams wrong, and, you have to probably sign on to put up with a lot. And so not really surprised. It was surprising, I guess, that he became the story, but much like the LeVar Ball situation, it was pretty daddy driven.
Well, and you gotta, if you have the tape, the NFL will sign you up. They don't care. Like, oh yeah, you've got a bad attitude and you rub people the wrong way. Yeah, but if you're the best, they will take you. And the real draft grade comes from the guys in those war rooms. I think that's kind of the end of it. The media can say whatever they want, but the guys who didn't pick him because it didn't seem like he was good enough. On top of all the negatives that come with it as well. It's complicated.
Yeah, let me ask you this, Tim. You coached for a long time at the college level. Was there ever a point where there was a kid where you guys really wanted, but after you sat down and talked to him, you're like, you know what? No, we can't do this because there's just too many issues here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a huge part of the process. You get a really talented group of guys, and then you're trying to obviously get talent, but there's a give and take, no question. And look, I'm not a hater. Like I think, he definitely, like I said, he threw for gaudy numbers and all those things. But to me, just watching the game, he holds on to the ball too long. And I just watched the NFL, and it's such a split-second decision type league. I mean, on the plus side, our guy Caleb Lohner got taken, which is really cool.
That's wild.
It's
Yeah.
pretty cool, right?
Yeah, I started recruiting Caleb when he was an 8th grader, so I've known him for a long time. And we stayed in touch through the years and become really good buddies. And so that was really neat to see for him. You just never know, man. You just keep waking up every day and see where life's going to take you.
You didn't write down on the scouting report. Probably a good tight end for some team in the future. Probably be a really good tight end.
In 8th grade, you know what his comp was in 8th grade was, to me, I called coach when I left the gym the first time I saw him, and he was really long and lean.
Yeah.
And he could really shoot the ball for a big guy. And so I said, hey, I see some Gordon Hayward here.
Wow.
He never really developed into that skilled basketball guy, but I think it's partly because he had so many stinking interests. He had so many things he loved to do. But football comes naturally, obviously his size and then his speed at the combine. I think that was the thing that, kind of flipped the switch for teams to take a chance. No,
his just elite athleticism at his height and his size. They talked, Sean Payton was talking about watching him run routes for the first time at the Big 12 Pro Day, and that's when they were sold on him. So you can't, that's the thing you can't teach, right? Is athleticism, and he's got it in spades.
Yes, he does, and like you said, that height, that'll be an interesting dilemma for corners, and particularly down near the goal line, like Utah used him. So excited for him, but Shedeur has now an opportunity to just go out and shut everybody up, and make a name for himself. But that's what it's going to take. Yeah, nobody wants, and I'd love to see him succeed. It'd be a great story. I would too. It's a good lesson, though, for all of us that, like, you're not entitled to anything. Like, the idea that you can walk into a job interview and think you already got the job or you don't even need to show up. Like, it's a good reminder to everybody. Like, you need to carry a certain level of humility with you. Well, and I was shocked that that's how DJ and PK got their jobs. Wow. Prima donna. There's exceptions, Tim. They didn't cut. Yeah, look. Like Alex was saying earlier. If you've already got the talent, why would you even show up? There's some that are just so great, you'll put up with anything. Come on, man. Hey, check my name. Here's my ID. You might know me. Well, let's get on to the NBA playoffs, which have been extremely intriguing. At the very least, and you don't love to hear this. If you're a league guy, you're not like, oh, awesome, more talk about the referees. But my goodness, the Detroit Pistons, if they've got a gripe, to be able to have a game go down like that, and then for you to fall down 3-1, it's such a different story than going down 2-2. But that Pistons team has really surprised me with being such a competitive team, even though they did go down 3-1. I agree. It's fun when Detroit's good at basketball. I mean, it just kind of harkens the good old days. Yeah. And, it's great to see that uniform in the playoffs, and they got a bona fide star in Cunningham. Mm-hmm. I mean, that guy's built to carry a team, and it's taken him a couple of years to get there. But that's the development piece we talk about a lot on pre and post. And we watch Jazz guys improve their standing in the league this year, and that's what Cade's done. That was a bummer, that last call. And the only thing I'll say on it is I can't tell you how many hours are wasted in my year by watching reviews, whether the ball knocked off a finger with 14 seconds left in the game. Amen. Or, 5 minutes left in the game, but yet we're going to have a play that basically decides the game that the officials admitted they missed. And they're going to miss some. But, man, there should be something that you can do. Like, that's where you have, like, the ultimate red card to throw out on the court and say, review that one. So that's a bummer. But the playoffs are crazy. They're fun. You see a totally different level from these guys than you do in the regular season. And I think that's probably the most apparent thing to me thus far. Well, what wasn't fun was watching Damian Lillard go down last night, a guy that we've followed for a long time, and just my heart breaks for him. At age 34, 35, to go through that kind of injury is going to be tough for him. But what that does, Tim, is it could end up causing some disruption. And following the Jazz, or being a Jazz fan, you're looking around the league for some disruption because the Jazz could use some disruption in this league to jar loose a few good players. Are the Bucks one of those teams that have to look at if this series doesn't go their way, they're down 3-1? Is it crazy to think that that's a team that won a title just 4 years ago, but they might be looking at blowing that thing up? Well, the windows are so short, and so much talent comes into this league on a yearly basis, and really the complexion of the league changes year to year, and so it's not outlandish, right, to think that they may make a move. I think the time the Jazz moved Donovan and Rudy, the teams that were recipients of that were obviously in line. They had the assets to do it. And I think that's what Danny's talked about all along. You know, the big game hunting, you don't always get the big game, but you go out there and you scour and you look for those opportunities. And there's another one in Phoenix, you know, with the way their season went. So
and the Grizzlies too.
The Grizzlies too. And you look back to the way Danny put the Celtics together the first time. You know, it was a combination of guys on the latter end of their time with the club. Obviously, you look at Garnett, and he was such a big part of that. But, you know, it really took timing on all those parts to make that happen. And that is the one thing that I will go to my deathbed and say that makes Danny so great is he's so patient. And the deal he gets is the deal he wants. And he does not cave, you know. So the Jazz, they're a player in all of this stuff. It just depends on how it swings.
Well, speaking of Rudy and Donovan, both are still in these playoffs. Both are a win away from advancing to the next round of these playoffs, obviously on different teams. But you've got the Cavs who are absolutely dominant, and they could wrap that thing up against the Heat today. How surprised are you that the Timberwolves have been putting it together and that the Lakers are starting to kind of fade away while the Timberwolves are finding a little bit more of a stride?
Not surprised at all about that. I was never a fan of the Lakers, any version of them this year. I mean, obviously Luka and LeBron pose a real issue offensively, but in that same token, watch their defensive film and, you know, watch the effort that Luka gives defensively. LeBron's a little bit limited, but I mean, his effort's always there, but Luka's just such a bad defender, and they don't have dominant bigs. So, you know, teams are going to have their way with them. And Minnesota, you know, this year after getting to the conference finals last year, I mean, they were a team that were definitely, I guess they were the finals, right?
Yeah, conference finals, yes.
Conference finals, right? So, you know, and they obviously had a ton of success, and so I just think they obviously learned from the regular season. You see different lineups. Rudy's not out there as much; he's about 25 minutes a game, but they're a dominant team because they have a dominant player in Anthony Edwards. And at the end of the day, that's what the playoffs come down to: is whose dominant player is going to be better.
You see, obviously the Lakers made a great decision in making that trade with the Mavericks. Not what I'm saying at all here, but with Luka's problems on defense, what do the Lakers need to do around him moving forward into the future? Because LeBron's not going to be around that much longer. What do the Lakers need to do to win with Luka now that they've got him?
I think they need to surround him with they got to go get a good big in free agency if they can. But they need somebody to protect the rim because that's going to be a huge piece. When you have four guys defending on your five, there's going to be holes at the rim, and you got to have somebody clean that up. And then the other thing, I would surround him with shooters. He is as gifted a playmaker, and his size allows him to make plays that, you know, the average guy can't make. He sees over the top and sees the corners and sees the dunker spot. He's always got such a good feel. So I would surround him with great shooters and a good big, you know, and but the Lakers, they're pretty cash strapped too. And, you know, they're kind of out of moves and out of chips. So it would have to be something that fell their way.
The Celtics are exactly what we thought they were, which is not just the world champs, but like they might not have the best record in the East this year. The Cavaliers were exceptional this season, but the Celtics are the kind of bar none favorite, I think, for a lot of people. And until proven otherwise, and until a time like Jason Tatum, I mean, when he has nights like last night with 37 and what did he end up with rebounds wise?
14,
14 rebounds and 3 steals. When you have a night like that from the best player on the best team in the league, it's hard to bet against those guys. Are the Celtics still the team to beat in the East, or do you think the Cavaliers have enough firepower if they're able to fire up against them in the conference finals?
Well, I love the moves Cleveland made. I love the fact they went out and got more size, you know, on the perimeter with DeAndre Hunter, and he's been a great add. They've had guys develop. Evan Mobley's changed his game as much as anybody from one year to the next this season, and, you know, his dominance around the rim, blocking shots, getting rebounds, those sorts of things really have shored up what was, a good team, but I think they have become a great team. And now the challenge for them is They have great momentum. Can they close out Miami tonight and get some rest and then be ready to rock and roll again? Their challenge is to knock off the champ. And Majerus used to say it all the time in our locker room, heavy is the head that wears the crown. There's a lot that comes with that. You're taking everybody's best shots. And until the Celtics are proved, otherwise, they're the champs. That's the way I look at it. And I do think that they're the most complete team. Like, they can play different rosters. They can play different ways. But the team is always the essence of that club, and I think that's what makes them great. Pritchard can get you 40 in a night, and that's just crazy. But they're built for the playoffs and playing matchups and being able to kind of match personnel to matchup. So I think they're in a good place.
Looking ahead, and we have the benefit now of seeing the first round, but I was curious to know who you think is going to meet up in the finals from the West and the East. Now having the benefit of seeing the first round, has that changed at all, or you still have the two teams locked in that you had to start?
I think Oklahoma City is going to get there, obviously.
You think they're for real?
They quickly dispatched the Grizzlies and did not play with their food. Even in games where they got down, they came back.
Oh, that 29-point comeback was all I needed to be sold on them.
Yeah, absolutely. And the bummer for me is I've got to admit David Locke's right, because David was saying that he felt like Minnesota would be in the final all year long. And, they were teetering at one point whether they even made the playoffs. And they really picked up steam late in the season. But I think it's going to be OKC and Minnesota coming out of the West. And out of the East, it will be the Cavs. I think the Cavs will get there, and I think they'll have to beat No, I'm sorry. They'll play the – will they play the Celtics? Will they play the Celtics?
They would, yeah.
They'd have to play the Celtics,
in the Eastern Conference final.
So I do think Indiana's interesting and intriguing and could beat Cleveland. So I'm going to put that in there as a bookmark for next week. But I love what Indiana's doing. I think they may have just enough juice to beat Cleveland. So I'm going to say Indiana, Boston.
Ooh.
I don't hate that pick, especially since nobody wants to give Indiana any credit in the East right now, and they're playing pretty dang good basketball. I've also been impressed with what Kawhi and the Clippers have done so far. I know that it's not – I mean, that's tied up at 2 apiece, and the Nuggets have been hit and miss all season long. But
whoever wins that series against the Thunder in the semifinals is going to be awesome.
I just dismissed both of those teams because neither of them seem to be playing very good basketball kind of running up to this thing. But you can't – it's hard to deny – a guy like Kawhi when he's playing decent.
You're right. And when he's healthy, he's a real problem, and he's been unbelievably efficient. What he can do on the boards. But he certainly makes that Clippers team way more interesting, way more impactful. I agree with JJ. I think that's going to be a heck of a series, whoever comes out of that. But I think Oklahoma City's too much. And for many of the reasons I talked about Boston, I think they've done a nice job at having multiple, like their offseason last year was incredible for their culture. Like they went and got Caruso and Hartenstein. I mean, those two guys were born to be on this Thunder team. So I think they have an understanding of what their guys do well, and they can throw matchups out there to have the luxury of a Lou Dort, a Caruso, a Jalen Williams. I mean, that's a ton of talent, and we're not even talking about the top level in Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah.
Tim LaComb, he's the coach. Tim, we would never take you in the 5th round, brother. You're our first-round draft pick, my guy.
I'm a walk-on. Like, literally, my career in basketball became I knocked on the door of Jeff Judkins at the University of Utah and said, I'd like to volunteer my services. So I got no issues being a walk-on. I just want to be invited to the party.
Minicamp invite is okay as well. All right.
That's
Coach, we
totally
appreciate
fine.
it. Thanks for the breakdowns, and we'll chat with you again and have fun this week watching these games.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
There you go. Tim LaComb.
That's great.
They're never going to say about Tim LaComb entitled and not humble.
No.
So he's always got that going for him. I think if you work for Rick Majerus, you get to that point anyway.
You have to be pretty humble to work for Rick Majerus.
And if you're not, if you weren't when you got hired, you are after.
Yeah. He makes a good point on the Thunder. Their depth is unmatched in the NBA.
And
their depth is unbelievable.
They're just mowing through.
And it makes me sick because the Jazz are so far behind what they've built and established, and they're loaded with picks in the future. I don't know how they're built for a decade run.
Yeah.
They really are. And if they're there right now, I didn't think they were until that 29-point comeback. I'm like, oh my gosh. They
got something
they
here.
are they play with a confidence that's unwavering, and they're ahead of their years. So the Thunder for real, for sure.
Did you see that clip of John Morant, by the way, where they were showing him in the crowd at some event, and the camera was right in his face, and he was not having it. So he put his hand right in front of the camera. So it gets awkward. But the TV crew was smart. They immediately flipped cameras because he's going like this, and they had a different angle of him from up top. So he's holding his hand in front of the camera, and his face is still in another angle. And I was like, I love whoever's running the truck on this crew.
They outsmarted him.
They're like, no, we're gonna still show him.
Ja's a good talent. So this is a topic. We don't have time. This is a topic for another day, and I'd love to talk to Tim about this. I think there's 4 teams that are going to blow it up this offseason, or could. The Bucks, the Hawks, the Grizzlies, and if the Nuggets don't win this series,
maybe, yeah,
they fired their GM and their coach. Something's going to happen there. And they're cash strapped, and they're not going to be able to get better.
So you're looking around going, what are the pieces the Jazz can pick up off the floor?
Exactly.
From these desperate teams.
The Jazz will benefit from any disruption that takes place in the league this offseason. Keep an eye out for that.
Crazy. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got more coming up. We still have to get through some of our some of the things we didn't get to from the NFL with our NFL Blitz coming up. So don't miss any of that and much more. So stay right here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All the latest news and notes from the league and the locals in the NFL. JJ and Alex bring you the NFL Blitz on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
NFL Blitz. You know what that music means. We're going to talk more NFL as if you didn't get enough. I mean, frankly, this is one of those days where we have so dang much to talk about. We get to the NFL Blitz and we're like, man, let's get to the stuff that we didn't get to talk about before. We start putting things on the back burner. Hey, do you believe in karma? The KSL Sports Zone wants to invite you to help raise money for a great cause and to get some good vibes going for the Jazz for the upcoming NBA lottery. What are we? Oof. We're getting to May this weekend, which means May 12th is your lottery day.
Getting nervous.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to be a freaking wreck that day. It's a Monday. We'll of course be super excited for it. But if you want to create some fun, positive vibes for this Jazz team, you go to KSLSports.com. Participate in the KSL Sports 2-for-1. That means you donate at least $2 to Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital. And that goes toward the good karma of possibly getting that first overall pick. Don't know who you'd pick at the number 1 overall pick. That's up to the GMs, okay? I wouldn't know. But you can participate, and all the money is going to go to a good cause at Primary Children's Hospital, a cause that we love right here in this building. All right, go to KSLSports.com right now and donate that $2. The Bills GM not happy with what some local yokel radio host said there about their draft because they didn't pick up enough wide receivers. JJ, that doesn't sound like people in our business getting frustrated with their local sports franchise.
You shouldn't listen to local sports talk radio shows anyway.
What a bunch of jerks.
Idiots. That's funny, though.
The Jeremy and Joe Show. Whoa. You're listening to WGR 550, the Jeremy and Joe Show. Jeremy and Joe. While you guys were complaining, I said complaining because that's not the word he used. While you guys were complaining about 2018 Josh Allen, you guys wanted Josh Rosen. Now you guys are complaining we don't have a receiver. We just scored 30 points in a row for 8 straight games a year ago. I bet you guys were asking why we didn't have any receivers, but I don't understand it now. You just saw us lead the league in points. What do you want from us? Listen, I'll just tell you right now.
Oh, jeez.
I'll just tell you right now.
Well, can I read this out loud?
Yes.
This is fun. I love this. This is why, this is just part of the deal. But so I guess he was listening to them talking before he came onto the show. And he says, sounds like 2018 all over with you guys. Well, you guys are in 2018 about Josh Allen. You guys wanted Josh Rosen, and now you guys are that we don't have a receiver? I love it.
Well,
I love it.
It's a lot. And
Hey,
you're into those big markets.
You go on the radio. Like, we're saying this where we're at right now. You go on the radio and say some stuff. I love that there's accountability out there. Hold me accountable. Hold Alex accountable.
Okay.
And I love that the GM went and said, hey, you guys, you wanted Josh Rosen. He had receipts.
Hey, Josh Rosen, he would have worked out in the right situation.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Although they tried him out in 5 different teams, I think. So there you go. Relative to the peers, we did not invest in the wide receiver position. You're right. They didn't feel like they needed to. They feel like they have exactly what they want. Or they'll go out and get it where they want it instead of from the draft. There's a handful of wide receivers in this draft that were great, and you didn't necessarily need to draft some of those. But there are also a lot of guys. There are also going to be a lot of guys available in the offseason, man. Come on. Let's get some people going here. Hey, Broncos linebacker Dre Greenlaw injured his quad while working out. What does that mean?
Well, there was a massive panic in Bronco Nation over the weekend.
Because of Dre
there was a
Greenlaw's?
report that came out that he tore it.
Uh-oh.
And it was bad.
Tore your quadriceps?
Now, this is Dre Greenlaw, who ruptured an Achilles in the Super Bowl. Remember that?
Coming off of the sideline.
Yes. And this is a big pickup for the Broncos. Like, they need Dre to be good. So it scared everybody. It turned out it was just it's a quad strain. So it's not torn. It's not a serious injury. So take a deep breath. Broncos Nation, he's not out for the year.
My favorite place where we were able to break some news over the weekend about Derek Carr's shoulder injury was him giving a church sermon. Imagine him coming to your local ward, JJ, saying,
he'd be welcome.
Visitors are welcome, you're right. And he rolls up and goes, hey, look, I've got an MRI to prove it. The team knows about it. We've been in constant communication. There's nothing wrong. We're figuring it out, and we're going to go forward with this. But, yes, I was injured.
That's his testimony?
I guess at that point, then the church band fires up.
Did the bishop tell him to sit down?
He's all, hey, now, listen.
It's like, that's enough. You're done.
Stop preaching these wild things from the pulpit here.
Stop it.
So there you go. That's where he revealed that for sure the shoulder injury did happen. It was at a local sermon that he gave. All right. Next up, the Commanders are going to have a new stadium, and they are reaching it. Listen, this is when you roll out a new stadium, by the way. After you go to the NFC Championship game in a year that people thought you were going to be trying to get a little bit better, and your rookie quarterback ended up being the best thing that's ever happened to your organization in the last decade. That includes you selling the team. I mean, honestly, $4 billion is what they're looking at spending on a new stadium at the old RFK site.
It's cool they're going back to where it started, though.
Yes.
I like that.
I think so, too. And that's the stadium I grew up watching a lot of football games on TV in, and RFK just has that, it's got that cool vibe. That's
now that they're winning again, and they can only tap into it so much because they can't use the old name, but that's an incredible history that franchise has.
I get it.
I grew up in it, and as a Bronco fan, I hated them because I was jealous. They beat us in the Super Bowl.
Well, listen, RFK
There's
Stadium,
a great tradition there.
It's not going to be ever named something cool like RFK Stadium again.
No.
But what it will, so when it is named like Amazon.com Stadium, actually it really could be that.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, it's right there in Washington, D.C. Doesn't he own the Post?
He does.
So I can see that, but they're going to spend $4 billion. They're going to build a stadium. And you know how many seats are going to be in it? 65,000. You spend $4 billion these days, you can't get more than 65,000 people in that thing? I know the NFL model is not to have as many people in the stadium.
That's not anyone's model anymore because it's not about volume. It's about quality of seat. How much can you charge per seat?
Yeah, but if you have an 80,000
Trust me, they'll build so many luxury suites, they'll make up for the extra 20,000 seats that they lost. You don't want a stadium. You don't want a 100,000 seat stadium.
By the way, did you see that Sean Taylor's brother got a minicamp invite by the Commanders? I think that's pretty cool. Pretty cool nod. The former Washington great.
That's awesome.
Gets his brother to get a minicamp invite. All right, let's take a break. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We've got a best and worst. So I've got something fun for JJ to throw around here. So we'll come back with that. Stay here. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Wrapping up the hour with our picks for the best and worst moments on today's show. As JJ and Alex want to hear your best and worst of the day.
What's the score?
I'm keeping score. What's the score? Well, we have 88 points.
That's not the score.
What's the other team have? Wouldn't you like to know? Ask the other team. Ask the other team. They're keeping their own score. That's a little interaction I had with a parent this last weekend. All right.
Oh, boy.
JJ, best and worst. Brought to you by the good folks at the Doug Smith family of dealerships, Chevy, Dodge, Ram, Subaru, Kia, and, of course, now the Mitsubishi brand of vehicles. Go check them out, American Fork, Spanish Fork, and in Linden, where you can find the Kia. Hey, I did want to bring this up. So, Eugenio Suarez had a 4 home run game, and having a 4 home run game is a big friggin' deal because it's pretty rare. Now, hitting 2 home runs, hitting 1 home run is already crazy. You've heard hitting a fastball in Major League Baseball, it's the hardest thing you can do in sports, right? Well, Eugenio Suarez just hit 4 home runs in a game, and he's only the 19th person ever in Major League Baseball history to do it. JJ, there have been 24 perfect games that have been pitched in Major League Baseball history. Would you have a perfect game or a 4 home run game on your record? Which one would you rather have?
I'd probably go perfect game.
Just because the mystique is a little bit different, right?
That's the difference. Is just
even though it's technically more rare.
Can you name anybody that's had a 4 home run game? It's not even something we keep track of. But perfect games make headlines. Perfect games I put on the 10 o'clock news.
Yeah, but from an actual a perspective of
that's pretty interesting though when you bring it up like that. Only 19 players have done it.
19, and there's been 24 perfect games. Perfect games are the thing where you're like, holy cow, that didn't happen. But 19 players have hit 4 home runs in one game in MLB history. I don't know. You're right. I think the perfect game is interesting because it's a full, the pins and needles that everybody's on. If a guy doesn't hit his 4th home run, you don't go, well, crap, I guess we didn't witness history tonight. You're still going, that dude hit 3 freaking home runs tonight, man.
The other thing is, my argument would be, well, it's just so much more difficult to do the perfect game. But then your comeback could be, there's been more perfect games than 4 home run games. I don't know. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah,
interesting.
You're right. There should be 25 perfect games, by the way. Who's the Detroit Tigers pitcher who got robbed by Jim Joyce?
Oh, that's a tough one.
See, that's tough because we probably Galarraga, right?
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, it was
12 years ago.
That's bonkers. You go back and do that. Yeah.
Sorry, almost farther than that.
Is it Galarraga? It was the
Armando Galarraga.
Armando Galarraga, and it was Jim Joyce who made the crap call.
Yeah.
See, and nowadays it would have been reviewed and it would have been a perfect game.
Yes.
That's what sucks about how it works.
Well, at least it led to change.
The worst of the day. Brother of an NFL star cop slapping a fan at a UFL game. Now, this would be fine, and you wouldn't necessarily hear much about it, except for it was Samson Nakua who slapped a fan at a UFL game. Brother of Kai also, but of Puka Nakua.
Why'd you bring Kai up with that?
Hey. Maybe the Nakuas have of all the Nakuas, the one who's the best in the NFL, he's got the perfect record on not slapping guys after the games, either with helmets or with their hands.
I was at the
Miami Beach Bowl.
Miami Beach Brawl. Remember, I was on the field with my phone recording it and posting the video of it because I was right in the middle of it. It was nuts. That was the craziest thing I've been a part of in this job. Was being on the ground for that. How things escalated so quickly, and all of a sudden I'm right in the middle of this thing that went viral. It was nuts.
Well, they go back and forth. It's not a good look. He jumps up and slaps the fan who is yelling down at the field.
Weird, right? Just weird.
Very weird. Well, hey, look, it is crazy. I don't even know what's the UFL, you can watch it, I'm not sure where still. Despite the fact that they combined the 2 leagues, we're dying for football. Why is it that we can't get one
Are
of these
we dying for the UFL?
That's the thing is that these guys...
Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that?
Our producer Alex is like, it's on Fox. You've been watching it religiously. You saw the slap happen live. Okay. That's fine.
He has a podcast, a UFL podcast.
He started up a UFL podcast. I don't even know what team Samson Nikoa plays for. The Michigan something rather.
Panthers?
The Michigan Panthers? That
Question
sounds
mark?
like one of those movie teams that they make up. You've been playing for the Michigan Panthers for years now.
Oh, hey, it is the Michigan Panthers.
Is it really?
Yeah. Well, the Michigan Panthers were an old USFL.
Right.
And that's where they got it.
Yeah. The Michigan Panthers. That sounds like a Hollywood made-up.
It does.
Made-up
it
team.
sounds fake. It's kind of like Richmond in soccer, right, Alex?
Wait, they're not real?
So Wrexham and Richmond aren't going to play for the league title?
So Roy Kent's not a real person?
No, they're not real.
No, but I know. I think they based him off of Roy Keane, though, right?
In the case of Kent, yes. They based him off of Roy Keane.
Yeah.
Legend.
I mean, legend, and also, like, kind of a hard A, right? That was kind of the thing he was known for.
That was his shtick.
That was his shtick. Okay. Hey, how'd Real Salt Lake do this weekend? They have a match?
Yeah, they bounced back nicely. They ended up going down to San Diego, and they came back with a 3-1
that's
win.
right.
Diego Luna with another brace, and he's really starting to break out, man.
Diego!
Now, the braces scores first and then last, and the one in the middle was some other person we don't want to mention. Is that right?
No, the brace is just 2 goals.
Okay, just
two goals. Yep.
Yeah. Congratulations to Pablo Mastroeni on his 100th
that was his
career
100th
coaching
win?
victory.
Nice. We should have put him in. Well, this is best and worst, I guess. So this is technically, he's going to get the 1B of best. So congrats to Pablo. Awesome. And if Diego Luna's not playing in that game though, because of that red card appeal,
Ooh, yeah, that's right.
that would have been a tough one. That's why you got to make those appeals and make them happen. All right. We're going to take the break here. We'll come back at the finish of this break here, and we got some things still up the sleeve here. So stay right here with us. More to go. 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.